Thanks for having me. You know, no matter what your role is in this litigation process, to me it's like the Greek god who pushes the ball up the hill and it rolls back down on you every time before you get the project completed. So whether you're a mediator or an attorney or whatever your position is, that's kind of what happens in this industry. But one thing I want to talk about today is residential litigation and some commercial, some items that are missed by experts. And it's something in particular, one product type or one area type. It's typically in downtown or urban environments. And I want to go through a couple of projects we've managed after the litigation dollars were funded. This is the Remington, which is in downtown Los Angeles. It's a 24-story high-rise building, and it's full of movie stars and wealthy movie industry people. Pretty touchy-feely project. This is the view off the heliport, and the heliport was included in the litigation at about $50,000 worth of repairs, and it ultimately turned out it needed a $5,000 paint job. So I believe that a construction manager should be brought into these litigation cases during the case so he can help throw out the trivial stuff and put in the more important items like how do you manage this project in an urban environment. This is a good point on this whole case. This is a trellis on the 24th floor, and it was brought up in the litigation. This trellis leaks into this gentleman's unit. This is a penthouse unit. It's owned by a guy named Gary Barber. He's president of MGM Studios. Every time it rained, he had a mold consultant come in and do hygiene testing in his unit. So part of the litigation project was to rebuild the trellis, and sure enough, after the first time it rained, it leaked. And so after some further investigation, we determined that it was this handrail base that was leaking into his unit, and it leaked there for years. One other thing that I want to emphasize on these projects that construction management is not taking into account, this is a picture of the parking garage wall. This had a 3-story subterranean parking garage, and it leaked on a lot of expensive cars. And you can imagine these are wealthy movie people. There were 190 cars in the garage. Over half of them were Bentley, Rolls-Royce, Ferrari, Maserati, Aston Martin. They drove their Mercedes or BMWs during the day. They took the expensive car out at night. No consideration was brought into this project as what to do with all these cars for a 3-month repair to the parking garage. You couldn't keep them in the garage. So that's one reason I believe that a neutral CM expert should look at these urban projects before settlement. This is another urban project. This is a condo conversion. It's an interesting conversion because it's not a conversion from an apartment building. It's a conversion from an office building to condominiums. This is in downtown San Diego. This actually is the former FBI headquarters building in San Diego, and the place is built like a brick, you-know-what house. But unfortunately, the converter didn't understand waterproofing. And one of the real elements of this project was the base of the building leaked into the parking garage. And I think, Ed, your old firm may have worked as an expert on this project. So the plaintiff's attorney hammered the developer over this case and won a fairly good settlement, but they didn't investigate any issues the city might have with cutting up their sidewalk. So as you can see, once we got into the project, the city ADA guys came out and said, well, hey, you just can't waterproof the edge of my sidewalk here. You got to take the whole sidewalk out. We want to take out the curb and gutter. We want you to replace all the ADA curb cuts in all 4 corners right in front of the building. And I said, well, gosh, aren't you being a little harsh? And the guy's response was, well, no, because we can make you take the sidewalk out all the way down to the end of the block and come up with the new current landscape guidelines. So here you can see we're taking out the sidewalk and re-waterproofing over top of the parking garage. So in retrospect, I really believe if the attorneys had brought in somebody who's more of a neutral construction manager, that could be folded into the project, those costs, and eliminate the trivial stuff that's in there. This is the third project we want to look at today. This is a single-use 170,000 square foot office building in downtown San Diego. This project has an atrium in the middle, and you can see the dome on top. That's just an awning dome to keep the sun out. Has anybody ever worked on an EFS project? EFS, well, this is EFS failure. And here we can see some of the issues. The builder actually put interior drywall corner bead on all the EFS joints on the exterior of the building, so they all rusted out. The whole case never took into account any of the issues related to doing an exterior renovation on the building and downtown environment. So each side of the building had to be completely encapsulated. We had to have air handlers in there to suck the EFS foam out and clean up on a daily basis. That was a city requirement. Again, not part of the litigation process, but certainly part of the repair process. This shows the EFS exterior coming up over the roof here, waterproofing the parapet wall. One of the other issues on this particular project is, if you can see the dome we mentioned earlier, it's right here in the background. You notice we've got plastic all over the vents. To recoat the roof deck surface, there was a lot of off-gassing, and that air was going to go down into the atrium. That was not considered during the litigation, so we had to do all this work, or have the contractor do the work on nights and weekends. It was quite an expensive proposition. If it's a 2- and 3-story suburban building, it's not that big an issue. But more and more we're seeing these infill projects in downtown environments, the 4 stories over parking deck with a wrap commercial. And they're very difficult to have repaired. And I just had an attorney ask me the other day in an SB 800 case, he said, look at this, what do you think about this architect fees? I said, that's great, but what about all the CM fees to manage this process for 18 months? So it wasn't in the project. So anyway, that's the completion of this project, 777 Front Street. One other interesting sidebar about this project, this building's owned by Saul Price, who founded Price Club, which eventually became Costco. And in 2007, he was 94 years old, and he came into the office every day with a suit on. And boy, when he came in, it was like a church. It was really quiet. Nobody's going to mess with Mr. Price. He's since passed away, but the project was successful and it's been completely restored. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to emphasize today.